So just shooting a vlog this Sunday morning, um, going through the perpetual abuse everywhere I go. There's more to Jefferson State, I realized as well. I find that there's a few psychosocial setups um, going on with my classroom. When I first started going there, um, this is what they do in addition to the vehicular stalking and the vehicular intercepts, all the things that I've been explaining to you, okay, um, that are unconstitutional, again, and the inhumane nature of his persistence, always using precision and accuracy to literally track you like you're an animal. And they use a network of social communication and connection in order to facilitate the abuse as well. And so next week, I will be getting into the inception of this overtly, because there was a component, a half of this component was occurring covertly, right? Kind of building up to the overt component and building up to the inception, which occurred when I was in physician assistant school, reaching my peak academically and getting ready to enter the occupational arena. And since then, I've been deprived of literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, easily calculated off of places that I've been contractually, and the monetary and salary component associated with those places. And so this whole campaign has deprived me of literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, more than 300,000, I would say. I mean, just at this point in the time, probably $1 million, I would say. I'd say very close to at least $1 million. And long story short, this video is just going to kind of continue a little bit on Jefferson State and continue a little bit on the vehicular things that I had to endure on this past Friday on the way to school, where again, I'm telling you, they're using those white SUVs and those patterns, where I went into great detail last video on those tactics of abuse. So at Jefferson State, because they attacked my sexual life and they attacked my romantic life, they were using these Latina girls in my Jefferson State community college in the lab setting. And in the past, they've used my relationships and they put connections together in order to facilitate abuse of my romantic relationships. And in this particular case, because I have, I'm fond of, Hispanic women, they will attack and they will survey all my values, my interests, and my likes, and then they will then couple that in a form of abuse. In this case, I was in lab, and not just one day, but just every day in lab, essentially. They will couple me and they will come and approach me, no matter where I sit. They will facilitate the proxemics. So it doesn't matter. It's against my will. It doesn't matter where I sit. It's they already have the plan in place. So they do is they'll use the proxemics and they'll come, and I could be sitting in the back corner. I could be sitting in the front corner. I could be sitting in the middle of the room. It doesn't matter again. So again, this is not something on my will. This is something that's going to be imposed against my will by having them come to me. And this has historically been the type of abuse that I've endured throughout my college years as well, where it's really not up to me who I choose. It's always them coming up to me because they're trying to facilitate a connection that has a chain effect that affects other aspects down the road, in my personal life, whether it be because their name is associated with street signs, because their name is associated with, for example, this house. I didn't know that this house was owned by a woman by the name Nina. And it just so happens that they didn't tell me that until I had purchased the house. So they waited for me to have purchased the house. They cloaked the name on the contract. Um, of a different name. And then when I finally went to the lawyer to have the formal deed and everything signed over, that's when I was notified that the previous woman, her name was Nina. Okay, so what they do is they facilitate these connections with women whose names are associated with things that are always pertinent within my personal life or have some type of future um, accessibility, if you will, to a form of psychological abuse. So, um, when I was dating Jamie Whitehead, for example, she had a dog named Fenton. And so every time I drive off the interstate, there's, Finley. And she would say stuff like that to her dog, Finley, Finley. And so other nurses and stuff that I would date, Camille was one in Norfolk, Virginia, and that name was associated with the main avenue that I went to the gym to. Her name was the street name was Camille, and her name was Camille. And so what they'll do is they will purposefully, and they have no intent for a long-term relationship. They have a short-term intent. And so what they'll do is they'll come in and they will literally be there to either abuse you with 3 or 4 different tactics, which are all on the same denominator when I look at all those connections. And all those connections revolve around taking finance or using your finances. They revolve around abusing you, like you're getting seconds from other dudes. So they'll always approach you after you're coming out of that relationship is when they want to kind of be associated with you. It's never just like anything beyond that. It's always this you're covering up for somebody's previous relationship, right? So they may be coming out of a relationship, and this is very common. And matter of fact, this is like every relationship essentially. And so they get you into this train of, you're just like this second man. And so they start manipulating and attacking your manhood, and they try to attack your self-esteem, even literally like targeting your sexuality or targeting your values in that regard. More on that later. We're still on Jefferson State. So they'll take these Latino women, and then they will congregate around you. They'll sit beside you. They'll make sure to, look at you or ask you questions and like give you attention, right? And they'll always make sure that these women are some way, shape, or form in close proximity to you. Make sure that the connection is flirtatious in some way, shape, or fashion. And they'll do things such as like staying behind, like let's just say you stayed extra, okay, in this particular day, like one of them may stay extra too, right? And it almost seems as if they're trying to make a connection, but reality of it is they're not. They're trying to make a connection in order to abuse you, to give you the bad news, or to abuse you in some way, shape, or fashion later. And so what happens is the one that you start to feel inclined or attracted to will then go and you'll overhear something about her being 17 or underage. And this is part of that entrapment piece where they try to get you associated with things that, again, they put you in bad company, right? And this is a chain of persistent, isolation. They're always putting you in bad company, no matter where you go. I know for a fact that in the past, they've, because they'll use your sexuality. So even though I'm heterosexual, they'll constantly use the values and things that you're not for, right? That you don't agree with. So what they'll do is they'll have a bunch of homosexual men be interested in you and ask you personal questions, and they'll have you come over, right, and like hang out with them and everything. Pretty soon you find yourself connected to people who you don't share same values with. And this goes on and on and on and on. And so you become isolated essentially because of the connection that they're perpetually putting on you. And like right now, I have a thousand, like 4 women in my inbox, right, on a dating site. And all of a sudden, there's no connections that could be made. But before connections were made, so it's just like there's always a changing or an evolution. It seems like there's always a purpose of manipulation, always a purpose of isolation. And when you're isolated, it's easier to manipulate you. And so this is how it works: is they're always trying to isolate and manipulate, and they're constantly building this infrastructure of social space through either acquaintances, or even going to school, or even your dating life. It's all a connection that's based off of animus and this demented, unconstitutional control over your personal life in every aspect, right? And you go and you do nursing and you realize that every person as a human has a right, right? They have a right to privacy, they have a right for their health, they have a right to have a choice about what they want to do in life, right? Even our Constitution says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, life, liberty, and the pursuit of justice. And all of these things are taken away, okay, in this program. All right. So let's look at the screen share. This is October 11th on Friday. Okay. I am going to school. Okay. So I'm on my way to school. Okay, I'm on my way to school, and we talked last video. If you don't know, last video I made a huge video on this whole vehicular piece, right? So the red vehicles, the white SUVs, you've seen it in the gym. I made videos on that. Every time I go to the gym, when I'm in the gym, I have to bring a shoulder mount or a chest mount. But when I'm in the gym, it's always the blue shirt, the blue water bottle, the blue shoes, and everybody's just always walking around trying to intercept my line of sight with the color blue. Okay, everywhere I go. Recently, my neighbors, so every time I look in the backyard, there's a red SUV. Okay, these red SUVs you'll see as a common denominator in many of my videos. We talked about the significance of those in other videos. Again, a form of abuse. And we talked about the patterns and the different types of techniques that they use with the vehicles. So it could be either color coordination, it could be timing and frequency, okay, if it's not color coordination. The one thing I haven't said is the license plate piece. Now, the license plate piece is another tactic of abuse that they've used persistently in the last decade. If there's anything such as slander going on, if there's mishaps or any errors in the processing of bills or utilities, slander and defamation going on at school, things that are going on in the grocery store where I have to call the police, all of these things, basically, they will then take license plates and then drive by you using those license plates in order to abuse you with the semantics, either having license plates with HA, like ha, like, ha type of thing, or they'll just literally put the term on the license plate. So if there's something that is pertinent to your train of thought or something that is pertinent at the specific time frame throughout your day, let's just say I'm going to get insurance on the motorcycle and I'm driving to the insurance and registration DMV place, then they're going to make sure they intercept me with a vehicle on the road that has vroom on it. Okay. If they have, anything regarding a specific color, like they may even bring a license plate that says blue or something on it. They've done so many things. Like when I was abused in North Carolina, because I like to hunt certain species, when they were abusing me about my firearm rights, they would drive by with the the three letters that a crow would make, which is like caw, right? Caw, like the sound of a crow. And I like to crow hunt. It's kind of a unique hunting experience. So long story short, they've done this lots and lots and lots and lots of times, is using the license plates to abuse you as well. Now, when I do this screen share, what you're going to see here is I'm coming out of my residence, and immediately, just like we had shown on the previous video, I'm going to be intercepted. Now, one of two things is important to note here. Number one, it's the interception of timing, right, and accuracy. So they knew I was pulling out, and they were accurate at what time I was pulling out. So again, this is showing you precision and accuracy, right? Precision and accuracy. So I pull out and boom, okay? Immediately I'm met with this vehicle. Now, if you recall the last time I pulled out, the same thing happened, right? And you can see here that they want to make sure they're emphasizing two white SUVs. Okay, so this is the morning of me going to my examination. I have an examination, and this is supposed to say 7:45. So this is 30 minutes late. For some reason it says 8:15. Okay, so I'm on my way to exam, and I'm having to go through subversive psychological abuse by this stalking campaign. Okay, so here we go. So now we're driving. Now, this white SUV on the right wasn't ever there. It was usually red, but they purchased that white SUV, or someone else is living there, I guess. But it's always in line. My social and my visual space is always in line with the chain of abuse that they want you to see. So now I have a white SUV. Every time I look out back, there's a white SUV, right? So now I have to focus on this white SUV. And you've seen on previous videos that there's white SUVs intercepting me when I leave the gym. So now I have a black SUV coming out, right? That's strange. Okay, so as I'm coming and approaching the hill, guess what's up here waiting for me? You can see there's a black SUV pulling up, and they use these things as pairs for some reason. So now you see here in top of this hill right here is a black SUV that just pulled out, and he's sitting there. He had reversed out of the driveway, and he's sitting there with timing and accuracy as I'm leaving my residence. And the problem with all of this going on is that this is close to my residence. So every single time I come near and close to my residence, this is no longer feeling like home to me. It's feeling like a place of abuse, right? Just like when I showed you the white cars around the curbs on the previous video, or the one before that. And I was showing you how the white cars were following me, right? Now, they could have done that in any place, because I mean, my transit time is 20 minutes away. Okay, so they could have done that anywhere they wanted to, but they chose to do it around my residence. And this is the same principle here, is that they're establishing a anchoring, or what they call anchoring or briding. Okay, and they're establishing, regardless of the name, just abuse is the umbrella term for this. It doesn't matter what you want to call it, but this is their tactic to establish this abuse around the residence. Okay, you see how that works? You see how every time I'm showing you these videos, it has something to do with me being near my residence, right? So what would you think now if you have to drive back and forth to your house, knowing that every time you leave your house or you're near your house, you have to go through this abuse by your house, right? So it's beyond just the fact that it's happening. It's the saturation. It's the level of saturation in which it imposes. Okay, so this is on the way to school before examination. I have to deal with this. Now, when I'm outside working and I'm fixing things around the house, I have to deal with them timing me going through the back door or the front door of my house. And they'll time when to drive as I enter my house or exit the house, and make sure that they drive by as I open or close the door to the house. Okay. So again, they're using pairs here. You see how they use pairs to abuse you, right? Two white SUVs, and then you keep driving, and then they have two black SUVs. waiting for you. And you know what's strange about this? What is it that I told you in the last video? It's not really strange, but what did I say was common? You see how that vehicle was just waiting there? You see how I go real slow and he's just waiting. See how he's just waiting, sitting there waiting. There's no telling how long he had been waiting. There's no telling how long that person in that black SUV was waiting there. Just the simple fact that he was waiting for me to come around the corner. Okay. And literally using precision and accuracy. Okay. So he knew he was going to be precise, but to be accurate, he knew he had the time when I'm coming through and when that person was leaving that driveway so that they could do a pair, just like the white pair that I passed, right? Okay, you see that? See how that works? So now you have two black SUVs. And this is the type of stuff that I have to deal with around my residence. Okay. Two black SUVs. So that's just the video for today. Also, update on Amazon. Amazon was supposed to call me, the investigator was supposed to call me about the August 16th and August 18th event. It is October 13th, and basically 2 months later, and I haven't heard from him. Also, I ordered my phone records from Straight Talk, probably back in July. Okay, back in July, I ordered my phone records. I said it'd be here in 30 days. Guess what? They haven't given them to me yet. Straight Talk is a defendant in one of my lawsuits, and they still haven't given me my phone records. This is the same company that was hiding and trying to subvert and use spoliation of evidence in the lawsuit against one of the corporations that is on the lawsuit. What else? I went through some shadowing recently at UAB Hospital, and I had to listen to the one of the RTs tell me how she just hated management and this, that, and the other thing. I had to listen to her vent and everything. It's just all of these social things that you can't just get along. You can't go and have a peaceful conversation with anybody. It's always something that to antagonize or something to promote. One of the RTs is always, saying she's got the fastest hands in RT. And it's just you start putting the pieces together. And if you were young, right, you would feed into this, right? You would try to inquire about it. And it's this perpetual communication to entrap you into drama, entrap you into using Machiavellian tactics to suck you in. They love to use that emotional piece, right? And start sharing information like your best buds and get close to you. And when you're young, you don't know any better. You're just vulnerable. Even when you're older, you're going through the things that you're dodging, but you're still having to tackle things that are deliberately put in place, just like this whole Shoals ambulance. And so later in the week, I'm going to uncover the regional paramedic information. And then we're going to start breaking that down in a new series. And then regarding Shoals, I think I'm just going to leave that be. I do have more stuff, but it's just I'm not going to beat a dead horse, essentially. I just don't feel like dealing with it. And I'm going to have a chat somewhere in a courtroom very soon with them. So the thing is just what's the point other than making sure that I document this, kind of have an understanding where my mental space is, and make sure that I keep abreast the vlog, because it's important to share my story as I age. This has been going on, the suppression, for well over a decade, overtly, covertly. I'm going to open up a series on that. And then make sure that we follow through. So I guess I'll see you guys next time.